Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Shoes Off Inside. How is everyone? Kelly and Tamlin, hello.
Good. I'm coming to you from my very empty house. Can you hear this echo?
The echo.
It's because I have no furniture.
Well, all the more reason to go shopping, I guess.
Exactly.
I have gone shopping.
Have
Let
you?
me tell you, I can't afford anything. I need a new series just so I can furnish my house.
Oh my God,
Thank
you should.
goodness the strike is over.
Wait,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
That we got to talk
So we
about
can go
that
back
for
to
sure.
work.
You know,
For sure.
so yeah. But Kelly, in terms of furnishing your house, are you somebody who likes to do like secondhand or like go thrift shopping or whatever, or do you want all new?
I do love thrifting,
Yeah.
but this house is a modern house.
Oh.
And so, I mean, thrifting I find is really good for like if you're, looking for like antiques or, sort
Unique
of
pieces.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and
Super
and
unique.
I
Yeah.
there are certain pieces that you want like just like I know that we're going to be living on these sofas in the family room.
Yes.
So that's one that I'm like, I definitely want comfortable, brand new pieces that are going to, stand the test of time.
Right.
And then, countertops. Nobody uses formal dining rooms anymore
Nope.
or living rooms. My living room is completely empty.
Yeah.
Look, I have just a vacuum in my living room. But what do people do now with living rooms? Like nobody uses them because you've got a family room and I've got a bonus room upstairs.
Yeah, there's
it's
no
just
formal
a
living
big
room.
giant empty space.
I don't know. What do you want to do with that space?
I was thinking of putting my gym. Wouldn't
yeah,
that be
that's
hor-
you know
No,
what?
wouldn't that be
Most of the
horrible?
guy-
You walk through the front door and you see somebody's gym.
Yeah, that's not going to
But-
work.
But that I think that's a lot of people do is they put the gym in there, but also it's that old school kind of thing. The family room is where it's junky and you just sit around and you have the
Right.
snacks and last night's cups left over. The living room is when you have guests over, when company comes. But also what I see, because our dining room is used as our library / office. I mean, I think that's what most families use it for.
Yeah.
But again, because it's a cozy kind of, cozy kind of room. But again, stick all your books and your office stuff and, tuck it
That's
away.
a great idea.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even have a living.
Although-
I have one room that's a living room. I don't have a separate like
Mhm.
family room or whatever. And so, yeah, I don't even have that option. And then I have a formal dining room that I used to use as my studio. But
Yeah.
then I was just like, I have to reclaim my dining room. So that's why I'm now using my office as the studio. But yeah.
My house is going to be the place where everybody's going to come for like Thanksgiving and
Yeah.
Christmas
Yes.
and things like that. So I
you
do
need
have
that.
to keep a dining
Yes.
area.
Mhm.
Right.
But that is a great idea. I might turn my living room into the dining area so that you
Yeah.
walk in and you can see like the formal dining.
Oh, yes.
And then turn the dining space, which is also connected
Into-
to like the
A
office with all the
library
books.
office,
And I
yes.
know where to put all
There
my
you go.
books.
See?
Oh, you should, yeah.
Books.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay an expensive designer or organizer. We can help you here, right here on the show.
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So wait. Let's address the fact that Tamlin got a new haircut.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
When did that happen?
We just saw you like a week ago.
I know. When did that happen?
So again, the fact that thank you so very much, May and Kelly, for coming to opening night of Spring Awakening at East West Players,
It
which
was
got extended
so
to
good.
December 3rd.
It is so good. Okay.
Yes,
let's just
thank
say
you.
right here and now that if you have an opportunity to go see Spring Awakening here in LA at that it's an East West Productions production at the David Henry Hwang Theater in Little Tokyo. You absolutely should see
So
this
good.
show.
Yeah. And it's
So
not
the
about
talent.
me. It's the
It's-
talent of the young performers.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I have to say, I was not ready for that.
I wasn't
I
either.
had no idea they were going to be so good.
I wasn't either. And I'm on the board of EWP and I was like, oh my God, this talent is amazing.
Also because they mentioned that, what is it, 8 of them? For 8 of them, it's their first their first time in a play.
Professional
debut. Yeah.
And so and so I was like, oh, it's going to be kind of, high school, maybe college production. No,
Exactly. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no,
no,
it was
amazing.
full on.
We're amazed. We're amazed.
People
And
were crying,
Yeah.
laughing.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was,
Yeah.
really, I was so happy to hear that it was extended. So,
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Well, thank you.
Yeah. And you were
Thank you.
fabulous. So was your husband, David. It was just,
Daniel.
One of the
Daniel,
funniest
sorry, Daniel.
moments in
God,
the
what am I saying?
entire play,
Yeah.
Tamlin. Seriously, people were screaming.
Yeah.
We're having a bunch of fun. And we know that, for those of you who don't know what spring awakening is, it's a euphemism for sexual awakening. And it specifically centers in on the group of adolescents in 1890 Germany, portrayed by a cast of people of color. But it's about the
So
idea
good.
of what it means to be in that time period of our lives where we're not children anymore, but we're not adults yet. And those adults don't teach us all about what it means to be an adult.
Right.
With all the, so it's a rock musical, and Daniel and I get the privilege of being the adults who maintain the structure and how to behave and how young men and young women should behave, and
But
the
Tamlin,
kids get to
there's-
break out and bust out. It's literally a wonderful rock and roll
there's a
musical.
scene where Tamlin kind of lets loose a little bit. I'm not going to give away
Wait, but we
anything.
can't spoil it.
No, I'm not going to spoil it. But I remember when it
the
happened, I was
best
like,
part.
"Oh,
Yeah.
no, it's
So we're
fantastic."
having a bunch of fun. So
It's so
again,
good.
thank you so very much for coming. But I was just sick and tired of putting my hair in pin curls and then putting on that
Oh.
1890s wig. And then I said, I can't stand it, because whenever I would take out the pin curls here at home at night, my love Daniel would say, "You look like the Wicked Witch." And I go, "Ah!" So I wanted to cut it to something really cute and shaggy and sexy. And it's like, when it comes out of the wig, it looks fabulous.
Oh, it's so
that's why I
cute.
just-
But it was
Thank
a
you.
surprise because we were like, "Wait a minute, she cut her hair." So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I just did it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so speaking of different shows, the strike is over.
Yay.
Oh my God. I mean, geez.
Right.
Finally.
Finally. So how are you guys
Yeah.
feeling? How's everyone feeling? I know Andre, my fiance is very happy to get back to work. He goes back to work on Monday. So
I mean,
Yeah.
my house still needs so much fixing and order. Oh my gosh. I'm almost nervous about having to go away again,
Yeah.
for work,
Yeah.
because my house needs so much love right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I do need to work just to furnish
keep-
it.
yeah.
pay the
Exactly.
bills. Yeah. No, a lot of people suffered a great deal because of the
Yes.
strike, because it was so long, longest ever. I heard a terrible story from Andre, my fiance,
Oh.
about an AD, younger guy,
What
and
happened?
he committed suicide because he couldn't
No.
because he couldn't hang on. He couldn't hang on. And I mean, and people are living in their cars. And so there are really awful stories out there of the damage that this strike had. on
Oh, I feel
people.
so terrible
It's
talking
all-
about my
Yeah.
new house now.
No,
Jesus.
we have to remember that, and this is what I try to remind people, is like, remember, there are so many people who are affected by this. Don't
Yeah.
just think it
Yes.
was like the actors or the writers. It was a lot of people that were connected, to this, and they all had nothing. And this wasn't even like COVID, because in COVID, people had, the help, right? Everybody was getting the
Yeah.
supplemental, assistance. But
Yeah.
with the strike, nothing was coming in.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that everybody remembers, that like a lot of people suffered, and they don't just go back to business as usual and, kind of approaches things a little bit differently. I mean, that's what I always said after COVID. It's like, oh my gosh, I hope COVID changes our culture and changes behavior. Not so much, but let's see.
No, I think it does. I think
Really?
it is. I think it's
I hope
actually
so.
changing, because we're regressing. It feels like, to the right wing side of behavior, but
Oh,
it's because it's an automatic reaction
in a
to
bad
go
way.
back to what we knew.
Yeah.
But in terms of moving forward, it's that we have to acknowledge that it's that pendulum. It's like we go back to what we
Yeah.
knew, but in terms of really rectifying that doesn't work anymore, that gives us the bravery and the courage to say, let's try something new. And
Yeah.
we're still in that. I mean, talking about abortion, we got rid of, Roe versus Wade, what Ohio put
Oh
it in
my
its
God.
constitution.
I
to
know.
again, to enshrine rights to abortion. It's like that is the way forward.
Yeah.
It's like we have to acknowledge it's like people are scared shitless. Okay, fine. Deal with that. And then we're going to, for the persons who were brave enough to say, this is the way forward.
Yeah.
It's like we have to ride that train.
No, I think you're right. The
So,
pendulum cannot swing any further. So it's finally going to start swinging
Yeah.
back towards the middle, hopefully, to the
Yeah.
place of reason and sanity.
Yeah.
Let's hope, but we can't rest on our laurels. We can't be like, oh yeah, everything's good. And we got to keep moving forward. So, but overall, thank God the strike is over for the sake of, all of you guys in the biz, and then beyond. I think California, they said overall nationwide, it was like $6 billion loss, and then California at least $3 billion in losses. So it's
Wow.
I know it's back to it's let's get this economy back on track and people back to work. So
And it's happening at such a terrible time where interest rates are going up.
Yeah.
And gas prices are skyrocketing.
Yep.
And it's hard enough as it is just to reside in California, much less in a strike when you're not making
Right.
anything for 4 months.
right,
Mhm.
4 months,
Yeah.
plus
And we're
6
holiday season too.
and holidays. Yeah,
It's
I
going to be a
know.
bad
It's
holiday
gonna be a
season
bad-
for
it's
so
gonna
many
be bad.
people.
I know.
Yep,
I
it's gonna
know.
be bad.
I know. And Thanksgiving is coming up, so Thanksgiving is it is my favorite holiday because there's no gifts, there's no obligation, there's nothing except getting together and being
And
grateful and
food.
food, and just being
Right.
thankful for like what we have. And that's the thing. It's like
What is your favorite go-to dish to prepare?
me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the Thanksgiving queen, people. I
Me
make
That's
too.
what
the
we learned. We remembered this from last
Last
year. Yeah,
year.
you were
Oh,
your
right.
turkey turns out perfect. That's right. Yeah.
it's
You're
always
unashamed
perfection.
about that. It's
Unashamed
always
about
perfection. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So I'm going to make the turkey and some sweet potatoes. Andre's going to make his famous red cabbage that he learned from his Swiss grandmother, and his
Oh.
stuffing, and he makes fresh cranberry sauce, not from a can.
I
or
do
anything.
that too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we do too.
It's the
Oh.
best, right?
No canned stuff for
yeah.
me.
No.
We have both. We have both.
Do you? Wait, why do you have both?
Because we love it. We love the fresh one with the turkey, but the slices of the canned is dessert. It's
Really?
yeah, along with the pumpkin pie, of course.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
that's
we
so
have both. We have
okay.
it all.
Okay.
We have it all.
Yeah. But no, Thanksgiving. I can't believe Thanksgiving is coming up, and then Christmas, and then the year is done. What the
Yeah.
hell? This is what happens when you start getting older. It's like time goes. Whew.
Yep.
Wait, so we're reaching our anniversary, or have we surpassed it already?
Of the show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think. Well, we started kind of like soft launch in October of last year.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
we
we
did.
didn't have an anniversary show.
We didn't
No,
have
we
a party.
didn't. We didn't. So you know what I did? Okay, so
So the
I was
party goes on.
I was
Party goes
thinking
on.
about this before we started shooting today. I'm like, okay, how do we want to end the year? Well, remember last year we did our favorite things, like holiday favorite
Yes.
things? I think we should do something like that again.
Okay. Okay.
So think
Different
about
favorite things.
think about like favorite things.
Mine's going to be all house stuff.
Well, good. House stuff, whatever, food, whatever. But yeah, I remember last year our lists were really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So for this episode, it is sponsored by AARP, our friends at AARP. And we're going to talk about caregiving again because November is caregiving month for AARP. But we're going to approach it from two different angles this time. The first being about multi-generational living and how that's changing because people are getting older. And of course, within the AAPI community, that's kind of a thing anyway.
Yep.
But how are people adapting and what are the options and things like that? So we decided to invite AARP Senior Advisor for Caregiving. Her name is Trisha San Diego. She is an expert in this area. And so we're going to talk to her about what these options are and what's going on in the landscape of multi-generational living and about people like us who have no children. What the hell are we going to do? Right? Okay, so
Right.
Take a listen to
You're
Trisha.
gonna
And
hire
we'll-
a hot male nurse.
Yes, I vote for that. Okay, so let's take a listen to our interview with Trisha, and then we'll join you guys on the other side of it. Trisha, welcome to Shoes Off Inside. Good to see you.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. Well, this is obviously a topic that's near and dear to you because you are with AARP Caregiving Division. And so
AARP?
AARP. I know. Did I say AARP? Okay. AARP. Oh, you know why? Okay, I'll tell you, ladies. I'm so exhausted because I'm at the end of the semester at at my university, and almost to the end of my semester. And I am literally crawling to Thanksgiving break, and then we have 2 more weeks, and then we're done for the semester.
Yay.
So I can't even see straight right now. Right now, the screen is blurry. So, speaking of caregiving, I need caregiving. All right, in all seriousness, back to Trisha. So we wanted to do the show that really has to do with some practical information and talk about how caregiving, the face of caregiving is changing, especially when it comes to living accommodations and multi-generational living and how that's affecting, homes and the way in which people are choosing to live together. So,
and the speciality of us being Asian American women, because
Right.
there is a different perspective and outlook as to how we care for our elders. It's very interesting in the discussions, I think, that all of us are.
it's so true. It's so true.
participating.
So Trisha, just in general, because this is what you look at all the time, for AARP, what are you seeing in terms of caregiving, multi-generational living, and like Tamla is saying, cultural differences as well?
Sure, absolutely. So, there are 53 million family caregivers in the US. And in general, there are differences between every single caregiver's experience. And so we are all on our own journeys, but then there are these sort of similarities and parallels that we see across. And then there's disparities. We see certain subgroups, subpopulations, multicultural groups, different gender and age experiencing disparities in how disproportionate the impact is. The burden of caregiving falls on them. And we know that in multicultural groups like Asian, we over-index in that area. And particularly women, 6 out of 10 caregivers are women. I know that's surprising to some people. You actually think it's going to be higher than that, but demographics are changing. And then there's a lot of us, myself included, in the sandwich generation. And AARP has even sort of repositioned the name, and we call it the panini generation because we're feeling like extra squished. And I firsthand do feel
Pressed.
that way. Like you're
The pressure.
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Wow.
And we can take, that sandwich generation analogy very far, but yeah, we all have our own different sort of housing situations and family lifestyle situations. And so we're all our own kind of sandwich in lots of ways. And it may not necessarily be like the bottom generation and the top generation and you're in the middle. Maybe it's like an open faced sandwich. Maybe it's a 6-foot hoagie where you're taking care of multiple people. Some people are serial caregivers. And so it really is more and more people are stepping into this role, and we really need to be prepared for it because I don't think we have the infrastructure in our country to really do it justice, and caregivers are going to need help.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had just a small taste of this last night. So I was taking care of my niece for the last 3 days, and she needed the printer set up because, I'm in this house. You can hear the echo. It's so empty. There's no furniture. But so she needed the printer set up. And then my mom decided she wanted to come and make some dinner, but she didn't actually want to just make the dinner. She wanted me to help her make the dinner. So I'm trying to set up this printer. My mom is calling me from downstairs. I need you. You need to help me do this and that. And my niece has this deadline where she has to get this printer set. And I was just like, oh my God, thank God this is not my life. Like, this is one night. I cannot imagine what it would be like if it was every single day.
Yeah.
That stress is real.
Yeah.
It is. It's a lot. And most of us in the sandwich generation are also working full or part-time in some capacity. I think it's like 61% are working your, full-time, daytime job while, let's call it, work at home, which is most likely an unpaid job and sometimes even more hours than your day job. And you're dealing with everyone's demands and everyone's needs. And as Asian women, I would say, you put yourself in the back burner and you, make accommodations and you do the best that you can to help everybody else. And so there's just this impact on time, money, and energy and stress level. And it's all going to lead to burnout at some point if we keep going at this sort of unsustainable rate.
Trisha, we've talked about this. The three of us have talked about this many times and you say Asians are over-indexed this way. It's true. We've all said there's no way in hell we would ever dump our elderly mothers into a, retirement home and leave them there. And so that's why Kelly, in her empty house right now that's soon to be furnished, she bought this house in Las Vegas in preparation for her mom to move in. And I think we're all thinking that, right? In terms of how are we going to have a home that allows for that, right? So can you tell us a little bit about what you're seeing? Because I see real estate and a lot of developers creating these mother-in-law suites, on the first floor, of course, because you don't want stairs, things like that. And I know that when I'm looking for a home, I was trying to find a house with a bedroom on the first floor, if possible. Because of that thought. So are you seeing a lot more of that happening?
That's absolutely what I'm seeing is more people wanting the sort of single floor type house layouts. In my own area, in the DC area in Northern Virginia, we're seeing, the market slowed down because of the fact of the high interest rates and just economic issues. But you do still see those houses, those types of homes with the single floor layout, the Rambler type homes, actually the ones just anecdotally in my area are the ones that are selling faster and not sitting on the market per se. I think that's really important to think about because there's a lot of safety issues as our elders, grow more frail, they have more needs, things that you don't always think about in advance, but accessibility and safety are major impacts on the housing environment of where you put your loved one. And we know that, or where they choose to live rather. And we know that sometimes there isn't a choice. And, we suffer a lot from guilt sometimes, right? Of like, am I making the right decision? Am I doing enough for my loved ones? I feel bad if I have to. And there's some people who do have to make the choice of looking at facility-based care for their loved one because they just can't in their own home. So I am seeing the first floor layout. There are people who are looking at like condos and smaller, they're downsizing. And that's also tough in this market right now when let's say you have parents who had a single family home for decades and they just accrue a lot of things. I don't know, quasi hoarding.
Kelly.
War mentality. Yeah.
And so that process in of itself is stressful, right? Just the decluttering, the organizing, the sentimentality that you attach to all these things. A lot of our loved ones may have even grown up during the World War II period where it was like you hold on to everything that you have. And so there's that.
Foil.
Exactly.
My grandmother used to have this giant ball of tinfoil. She'd have it in her purse.
Rubber bands.
Rubber bands.
Foil,
oh my God.
Wire.
Yep. Everything. Yes. Wire hangers.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And I find that is one challenging thing to deal with right there because it's just the sheer physical amount of stuff is overwhelming, but then the emotions get attached to it. So that process, I don't know if Kelly, you went through that as well. It can be difficult.
I'm still going through it.
Yeah. You're just like, I just want to put it all in a storage unit and not deal with it. But at some point you do have to sort and just have your, keep, toss, recycle, donate pile, and just, you need the time to carve out to do that.
One of the things that I think people don't realize about Las Vegas, because they think, the strip and gambling and all of this, but we have so many retirement communities here. And I feel like retirement communities are maybe not utilized enough. My parents went into one 5 years ago from Hawaii. They moved to Las Vegas. It's a fraction of the price compared to what it would be to retire in Hawaii. Yeah. And they absolutely love it. They are in this building where there are lots of other seniors. It's only 55 and up, so we can all go.
Yeah.
We can all join them. but there are activities, 3 meals a day. But this is for people who are healthy still and can live independently in their own apartments and things like that. But I go there and visit, and everyone there seems to be really happy. And they love the community, and they love having other people to talk to. Because I think that's the thing that people suffer from the most, right? Is that loneliness.
It's being stimulated. And I mean, my mom lives in a 55 and older community too, in Laguna Woods. And she could do something every single day if she wanted to. And there's a big Asian community there, a very big Korean population there.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. So she has all these like organizations that she can tap into. And so I feel she feels safe. That's the thing. Right. So that's a good topic to bring up, Kelly, because sometimes we think of these communities as like, oh, that's like for really old people, but it's 55 and up. So we could go there. So
I'll go there on holidays, and they'll have DJs and people are up dancing and karaoke.
My mom was part of a line dancing club. These like older women line dancing. So are we seeing more of that, Trisha? And is the stigma of like, oh, it's an old folks community, is that going away? Is that changing as well?
I think that still persists, and that might be maybe the only factor other than financial resources being the issue. I think that's another point, is that, if you are able to afford it, I think that is a very attractive type of setting. You mentioned loneliness. I think the Surgeon General just this year or last year said that it's actually an epidemic. Loneliness and isolation. I saw my parents during COVID through FaceTime age before my eyes. They were in great shape and good health, 3-4 years ago. And then when COVID happened, they didn't go anywhere. And I really think it was that isolation that caused more of that aging to kind of more rapidly happen. And so I think that idea of the socialization aspect, the part of, doing fun, having that enlightenment is going to be really, really critical. But yeah, there is a little bit of that stigma. I don't know. My parents are in total denial. My dad's 86. And I'll be like, oh, do you want to go to the senior center for the day or something? He's like, no, that's for old people. That's for old people. And I'm like, and what do you think you are?
Oh,
when does that happen?
I guess 86 is the new 70. I don't know.
That's cute.
I really appreciate this discussion, because I think what Kelly had said and what May and you, Trisha, have said is it's because of COVID and because of, our aging, all of us are going to age soon. It's that idea of loneliness, and it's the sense of connectivity. It's related to community. Everybody wants to feel like they belong, that they're, that they have something in common or can relate to another group of people without having to explain themselves. And I think automatically when we think of senior living communities, Leisure Village or Leisure World or whatever, it's like, for the stereotype of old crotchety people asking, nice weather today. But it's about finding activities that they all have fun in common, whether it be dancing, crocheting, exercising with the big rubber ball. And I think it goes without saying that it kind of relates to what we all suffered through pandemic. It's like that isolation. It's like, and the practice of saying, how you doing, Kelly? How you doing, May? And then making a faux pas, and then having that, oh my God, I said something really shitty to her. I need to apologize. And I don't know how to apologize. And it's like, it's that tension. It's those are the human behaviors that we all have grown up to, we're lucky enough to have grown up with, and our parents have grown up with as well, to, just try to navigate with kind of that sense of civility in what it means to belong with one another.
Right.
And I think coming out of a pandemic, especially the young ones, it's like, how are they supposed to socialize? And, we look to our elders, and if they can feel safe, which is, I think, is a number one priority. We keep saying about, making our homes more comfortable, more safe, without stairs, widening the bathroom doors, putting the bidet in, or whatever like that. But it really means about a shared sense of values too. And that could get really dicey and political and emotional. But as long as we all just recognize the fact that we all belong together, we all can find out from each other, we can share of ourselves and ask to share, It's like, to have that kind of sense of really being a good neighbor, I think is really, really important. And I think AARP is one of those organizations that can provide the resources as how to do this whole aging thing better.
Yeah. I think there's this wonderful mini documentary series that I was watching on, I think Netflix, and it was talking about longevity and
the blue zones.
The blue zones.
Yes.
Yep.
And I thought that, the concepts of being socially engaged was something that was common across the board.
Yep.
And also the sense of purpose. A lot of the elders who were volunteering, the sense of volunteerism and giving back to their community and having that sense of purpose was another key factor in especially a couple of the communities that they mentioned there. And so I think retirement communities like that can kind of bring a sense of that together. I think they sponsor things like volunteer activities, other common trending things that are happening now, pickleball. A lot of people are playing pickleball now. So
I know
they have one of those pickleball courts at my mom's,
such a phenomenon.
Retirement place, and I'm worried.
No, but
I'm really.
What do you mean?
People
Why?
are going to be breaking hips.
Competitive.
Oh. Well, it is a phenomenon for young and old. I mean, it's cross-generational, which is really interesting. Some of my college students love it. They can't get enough of it. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the activity, the stimulation, all of that is important, but also when it comes to multi-generational connection, right? I think we have to remember, I think the three of us definitely, and Trisha, obviously you too, but we respect our elders. We know that they are so full of knowledge and experience, and that should be shared. And that gives them a sense of purpose too, to be able to pass that along to younger generations. But oftentimes we see younger generations, being like, whatever, you're old, you're done. And so that culture has to change too. And
like
maybe
the term boomer.
Yeah, exactly. You're a boomer.
It's a derogatory.
It's negative.
term.
It's negative.
Right.
It's a derogatory term.
Exactly. And so, and I'll just share a little anecdote from yesterday. I was teaching my class, and my students were asking me about some of the most difficult assignments I had been on as a journalist. And I recalled interviewing a woman in Indonesia after the tsunami, and she had lost her leg. And then she told me the most heartbreaking story about how she was holding on to her baby, and her baby was swept out of her arms. And I started crying in class, recalling the story from 17 years ago. And I could see the power of my story, the impact that it was having on these young freshmen. They're all freshmen. And I realized, we as their elders, we need to have this kind of impact on them. We need to share ourselves and our stories, and they have to respect how much we have to offer. And we need to do the same for our elders too. That sense of purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what better way to do that if you are in a multi-generational household is looking at, preservation of your own family's culture and story.
Yes.
To be able to pass on to generations, I think is really, really key. And I think that's what we want to focus on more when it comes to caregiving, is we want caregivers to have that ability and time to do more of the bonding and the connecting with your loved one versus you having to do the work and the actual caring. And so how can you make that balance? Because that's what you really want to cherish are those times. Maybe you can do it simultaneously, but it is really hard to do it all. And you do get stressed out. And if you're in one roof, I think that can be compounded even more. And so I think when you talk about multi-generational households, and I think that that's something to consider, is that, yes, it's going to be added stress, but then there's these sort of joys and positives to it, which, convenience, first of all, maybe financial savings in the end, but then also that ability to sort of preserve your family culture and have those moments where you can let multiple generations in your family do that bonding.
No, I grew up a couple of years with my grandparents as well. When my parents got divorced, I moved to Maui and lived with my grandparents for 2 years. And I think those were really great formative times for me because I was second and third grade I went to,
Yeah.
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 And so it was, I think the greatest part for me was that they were always there. So I would come home from school and there was always somebody there. I was, the focus, because for one of those years I was there by myself. My brother had gotten into boarding school, so it was just me. And I really felt as though I was important to them. And because they had so much time, right, to just sort of take care of me. Whereas my mom, when I came back to live with my mom was so busy. She never had less than 3 jobs. She always had all these side hustles. I was a latchkey kid, and so there was a lot more loneliness, a lot more responsibilities that I had to take on. It was a completely different sort of environment. My mom was so busy. So I feel like having had that opportunity of growing up with my grandparents was really beneficial in that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
That kind
for
of
sure.
unique nurturing that you got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Trisha, let's change the subject just for a second in terms of our situations, the three of us. None of us have children. And so there's going to be no multi-generational living for us,
But that's a trend, right? A lot of people are not having kids.
So
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Yeah. What are we going to do? And what are you seeing happening?
That's absolutely a trend,
especially for those of us who are planning to stay single the whole time. That's what I want to know.
Hey, we at AARP, want to empower you to choose how you live, how you age. And so, this is your choice. And I think, it is common. And it is what's different between, I would say, our generation and our parents, right? My parents came from bigger families. My dad had 7 siblings and my mom had 3 of them all together, not as big. But the ratio of number of available caregivers per care recipient is increasingly decreasing. At one point, it was 7 to 1. And then now I think it's 4 to 1. And then, as you're right, I think the next generation, it's going to be even less, 3 to 1, 2 to 1 in terms of family caregivers who are available to help. I think that it's not uncommon and it is, something to plan ahead for. And you really need to choose sort of what your wishes are. If you want that social connection, maybe is it that sort of retirement community type setup? Maybe it's not even, maybe it's a community where you still have your individual homes, but you're in a neighborhood. Maybe it's one building. I think there's a couple like New York city buildings that we've heard of where it is exactly that type of setup where, you're solo aging, I guess, but you have that sense of connection. And if you need help, there is sort of the professional staff around to be able to help with that. AARP has a tool called the Livability Index, where you can type in your zip code, and it's a really cool tool, and it'll tell you sort of how age-friendly the neighborhood is or the area is. And so there's all different kinds of things to consider, but those are just sort of the trends that I'm seeing is that you kind of find other people in the same situation as you, and do you want to sort of group together and sort of pool resources, whether that be social, emotional, just help from each other, or whether it's a financial situation where you're actually roommating in a house together.
Golden girls.
So, yeah, exactly.
Or I've always said like a commune kind of situation where you maybe have your own individual little unit or whatever. And then
everybody's talking about doing that. Is anyone actually doing that? Is that a thing now?
Well, I've heard of people doing this, like buying little, like those tiny homes.
That's my dream.
Yeah. But then you share resources, right? And then you have help and all that stuff. And I think it's a brilliant idea. I've talked about this for 20 years, long before I ever thought about it.
I can tell you specific to the Asian American and specifically to the Japanese American community here in Los Angeles. I know of 3 persons, and they're all run by Asian American couples, mixed race couples as well. They buy a home. They buy just a nice suburban home with 3, 4, 5 bedrooms, and they make it their business to rent those bedrooms to senior citizens. And they live in that home all together. It's like a Golden Girl situation. But that couple is that their business is a senior care facility, but it's in a single family home. And I found that with 3 families, and 2 of them are connected with me personally, that's, and I don't know if that's a resource, if that's a thing that's growing outside of Los Angeles, but they're specifically in Asian American communities. And the idea of, the tiny home situation, the tiny home village, I have heard as well, but not specifically to Los Angeles. But I think that's something that AARP has covered. It's like that idea of communal living, but with that sense, again, of connectivity and a purpose, and who is going to be the responsible ones in terms of if should emergencies happen.
So Trisha, listen, we're going to wrap this up, but where can people find more information at AARP on this very topic?
Sure. AARP.org/caregiving. We do have an AAPI website, AARP.org/AAPI. And then I would definitely direct people to the home modification resource that we have. It kind of provides those checklists for trying to keep a safe environment for your loved one, all the way down to like what type of tile you should choose for your bathroom so that it's not slippery. Smaller tiles are actually better than the bigger, flatter tiles. So the types of light switches to use to just help, through time, make it easier for you to age in place and your loved ones to be there with you in a safer environment. So I think that's available at AARP.org/homefit.
Oh, that's good to know. That's a great resource. Okay. Well, Trisha, thank you so much for joining us on the show. This was really, really valuable information and important for all of us to kind of keep in mind.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
Great. Thank you, Trisha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I vote for the commune, and I think we should all join in that commune and just live out the rest of our golden years together. We can be the Asian Golden Girls.
Yes,
right?
we are the Golden
We're
Girls.
Silver Sisters.
We're Silver Sisters, exactly. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So the next topic that we're going to cover is a good one. It's about scams and how the elderly, especially, are scammed. I know. Look at us. We're like, seriously, fuckers. Big time fuckers. Yeah. The people who do that are just assholes. Okay.
Evildoers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we all have, elderly mothers, senior citizens who in our lives who we care about, and we know this happens. We know this is really prevalent. So we decided to talk to someone from the FTC who specializes in trying to find out who these senior scammers are and what they're doing and how to avoid it. Her name is Denise Oki. Oh, my ear thing just fell out. She is a consumer protection attorney at the FTC in the Western region in San Francisco. And they do a lot of work on this particular topic. They have a lot of resources, a lot of material out there. And she knows what's going on. So we wanted to talk to her. So here's that interview, and we will see you on the other side of that one. All right, Denise, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's great to have you because we think this is a really, really important topic. We all have elderly parents and, they have language, some barriers. And so we know that senior scamming is such a prevalent thing, but how prevalent is it? Especially within the Asian community. I'm sure that, this is something that happens pretty often.
Yeah, so last year, the FTC received reports on frauds and scams, and people reported losing $9 billion last year.
What?
Billion, with a B. And one of the things that is really alarming and astonishing besides that number is that we know that number doesn't even account for everyone who experienced a fraud or a scam or lost money. And so, you're right. It's so prevalent. Everyone knows someone who's been a target or a victim. I mean, I know in my family, there's been lots of scams and frauds that we've noticed. And so part of, my job is to really just educate people and inform them of what to look out for. There's, one of the biggest scams that are targeting people, especially AA and HPI communities, are imposter scams. And that can range from a wide variety of imposter scams. But you think of the IRS calling you, or Medicare, Medicaid, people calling to say that, they're in fear or they may be deported or any of those type of scams, or even the one that touches very close to home is a grandchild scam. Have you guys heard of those?
No.
What happens there?
So I can tell you a little story. My husband's grandmother lives in Florida alone, and she received a call saying that her grandson, my husband, was in trouble. I think the scam was that he was in the hospital and needed money to get him out, and she was on her way to go buy gift cards to send to the scammer. And okay, one, bright line red flag thing to do is if a scammer is saying, go pay with
gift cards,
card,
right,
or crypto,
Because
or
it's not traceable.
wire transfer, it's a scam. Hang up the phone. And so luckily I share this story because it's actually a success story where his grandmother called him and just to verify, to make sure everything was okay.
Yeah.
And finish she did, because again, she was on her way to go help her grandson, and who wouldn't want to do that?
Who wouldn't want it? What grandmother wouldn't want? Oh my God.
Wow. But she almost fell for it because they're using that family tie and sort of emotional, connection to sort of convince her to do that. Yeah. I mean,
Now they're saying with AI that kind of thing is going to be even worse because people can impersonate your voice.
That's scary.
Oh my God.
Are you seeing that, Denise? Are you hearing about that?
It's a little clip of audio from, social media or something that if you use that clip and they have the AI cloning program, it's very scary.
Wow.
So what they're saying is to have people make up code words or phrases or ask questions that only a family member would know.
Right.
To verify, even if you you think that you're talking to your relative, just ask a question.
Right.
Hey grandma, what is grandpa's name again?
Or
what was his sister's name again?
Yeah. Or what is your favorite Thanksgiving dish? Or, what did you always,
really
what did
personal.
you always do when I was, when I came home from school? It's like,
okay, but
wow.
here's the thing, Denise. I mean, let's be honest though. We're talking about elderly, members of society who are in their 80s, maybe into their 90s. They might not be that savvy to even remember to do that, or in a panic, right? If they're hearing that their loved one is threatened or in the hospital or kidnapped or something like that, do you think they're going to remember a code word, right? So they're going to react emotionally. So how are we supposed to prepare for something like that? And what do you recommend?
So I think having the conversation with your family members about, the scams that are out there, and there are some practical things that you can do. You can try to block unwanted phone calls. The FTC has a lot of information on that. If you go to ftc.gov, they have information on blocking the cell phone or calls to the cell phone, but also to the landline, because a lot of elderly people still have a landline. I think that there are other materials that we have that's specifically targeted for elderly consumers. One of the things that we found is that having the elderly community talk to themselves or talks amongst themselves, really adds a little bit of importance, because they're talking about their own experiences. And so we have this program called Pass It On, where we kind of give you the tools and give the advocates and family members and other, community members the information to really engage with the elder population.
But
so
Denise, Denise,
getting them to trust themselves.
so we know though that within the API community, and especially our elders, that there's that element of shame where they may not want to share the fact that they were scammed, right? The loss of face. So do you see that, problem as something that's, an issue to tackle within the API community?
Absolutely. And I think part of that is, we haven't heard from the AA NHPI community as much as other communities, and also the elderly AA NHPI community. And I think you're right on with that sense of shame or embarrassment, or how can this happen to me?
Yeah.
Earlier this year, we had an ethnic media roundtable in San Francisco with scams targeting API communities. We did have a community member there. He was I think he was in his mid 80s, a Japanese man who was living in San Francisco and was brave enough to tell his story about being a victim of a romance scam. And it was so heartbreaking, but he's not the only one fallen victim to this scam. He signed up for a dating service or dating app after his partner of 22 years had passed, and he thought he was talking to someone in the military. And after I think a couple of weeks of corresponding with him, this military guy said that, I have gold that I'd like to send to you, but I'm going to need money for shipping, or I'm going to need money for insurance. And little by little, he sent money to him, and he lost over $400,000.
Oh my God.
There is a special place in hell for those kind of people.
Special place in hell.
And so part of it was, a language barrier, I think, and part of it was sense of wanting to connect with someone too for our older population.
And it going back, I think it's that sense of shame that May had mentioned, because they're literally old enough to know better. But again, the technology, the scariness of what Kelly had said about the use of AI to replicate voices and probably faces and just communicate, with the AI face. It's like, how do we, combat and arm ourselves as well as our elders against these kinds of, nefarious activities? May I ask a question, Denise? Does the FTC have in language kind of resources for, not only AA and HPI communities, but other Latino, communities who have English as their second language, these kinds of resources that they could go to?
Yes, I'm so happy you asked that, because we do.
Oh, good.
We recently launched a language access program. So you can report to the FTC using a variety of languages: Mandarin, Tagalog, Vietnamese, Korean, etc. And you're right, other languages, I think Spanish and Russian. One of the things that we did notice that, we provide this, the website to report, what you're seeing, and you can tell your story. But we also realized that a lot of people don't want to do that, especially do that to a government agency or a government database.
Right.
So, family members can report on behalf of someone, or advocates, even friends, and it can be anonymized as well. You can give as much information as you would like. We do use that information to build cases when we can. So the more information, the better, but it's also whatever your comfort level is.
Yeah.
I think that provides a little bit more of a sense of security, that you're not divulging too much, or that you're not comfortable doing.
So Denise,
can I ask another real quick question? I'm sorry, I just want, because it's a connectivity question. Does the work that you do also align with the on the ground organization like AARP? Because that's an automatic in my brain. It's like the work that you're doing should be communicated to senior, retired person organizations such as AARP, so that information can get disseminated.
Yeah, we collaborate with pretty much anyone and everyone who wants to share information about preventing frauds and scams.
So Denise, how about some basics that we can learn about right now to pass along? Just what are some minds to look out for when dealing with potential scams? Like, what are some of the most common scams that you see that are affecting, especially senior citizens?
Yeah. So like I said, kind of the imposter scams seem to be the most reported. I think for AAPI communities and also for the elderly, investment scams are pretty big. And I think kind of like we had said, the imposters or the fraudsters, the scams keep changing, but the blueprint is usually the same. It's, they're trying to gain your trust to exploit that trust and then get your money.
Can I share a story of a girlfriend of mine who is Chinese? She speaks Chinese. And so this guy came through her, with this connection of being Chinese. And it started as a little bit of a romantic thing, flirtation and whatnot. And then he started sharing about how he was making all his money and he was investing in I think it was crypto. And he's only sharing this with other Asian people because he doesn't want everybody to get in on this because it was like so secret. And he had introduced her to this website where she could put her money and watch her money grow. And it was growing so quickly. She put in more money. And then she even borrowed money. She put in $120,000, borrowed money from the bank, and then also tried to borrow money from another friend. And that's how he's the one who sort of caught on to all of this. She was following what she thought was her money on a website. The entire website was a scam. They had built an entire website to make it look like she was depositing her money and her money was growing. And it went back to China because, this guy was working out of a Chinese office.
Right.
And apparently there's an entire building of people who are working on this website, this phony website that you can never get your money back out of.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, and she's in her 30s. She's a nurse. She's not a dummy. I mean, everybody is susceptible to this.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not stupid because you got scammed, or you're not, an idiot or people, a lot of times there's a lot of shame, right? Because people are going to think that I'm dumb,
right?
That I fell for something like this.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But it's so easy. It's so easy for anyone, not just older people, younger people too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But something as sophisticated as that scam, I mean, that's incredible.
But it was a whole running website.
Yeah, that's incredible. So Denise, I'm sure you probably see this all the time as well, these very advanced scammers.
We do. And Kelly, thank you so much for sharing that. There's a term for it, and it's pretty crass. And that's one that I don't really like hearing, but
say it.
Pig butchering.
What?
Wait, what is it?
Pig butchering.
Pig butchering.
Fatten up the pig before you take them to slaughter.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Track of you get a contact either on social media or a text message, and you kind of build that communication. Often it's through a dating app or so.
Yeah.
And then they say, hey, would you like to invest?
Right.
Right now it's in crypto is a lot of what we're seeing.
Right.
Yeah.
I
And
think
this guy sort of won her over romantically first.
Mhm.
And then just sort of dropped hints about what he did as an occupation and got her interested, and so she felt like she was the one who was pursuing this and not him trying to trick her into it.
Clever.
So it was very sophisticated.
Clever.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, it sounds like that's what I'm assuming. It's like, just
the scammers are professionals. I mean,
yes.
they know vulnerabilities, and they know how to lure people.
Well, Denise, what then is the best advice for senior citizens, especially those like our parents, again, with English being their second language, for them to really watch out for? Because we can't just tell them, don't ever answer your phone, don't ever open an email, don't ever, I mean, like literally, what are we supposed to do? Like, what are they supposed to do?
I'm also, my brain is like, the FTC needs to put out a PSA, in all languages to our, not only our seniors, but to us. It's like, don't, fall for the phone calls. Don't fall for the, emails. It's like, it's like, what can we do? What can we do?
Well, we do have some PSAs available.
There you go.
And they are available for wide distribution. And so, one thing I will definitely go back to kind of like the practical tips, but we do have a lot of resources on ftc.gov, and you can sign up for consumer alerts too. These are emails, for free that you can stay abreast of all of the newer scams coming out, and they usually come out at least weekly or so.
God.
What?
Or a topic of interest, kind of be on the lookout for some information.
Okay. Discussion points, not scams that come out every week. It's like, oh my God, we're going to be
not every week, but they're frequently.
They're probably,
But it is ftc.gov. ftc.gov. Okay.
One of the things that I've been at least telling, my family and my network, is to consider putting a credit freeze on your credit report.
Yes.
And this is a little bit more proactive. It doesn't necessarily prevent the scammers from contacting you, but it prevents them from doing anything to your credit, opening a line of credit. If you have been a victim of identity theft, it's something you can do. It's completely free, and you can lift it anytime, but it really just holds, your line of credit so no one else can open
a new credit
card.
Right. Right. And that makes sense because, is my 87-year-old mother going to want to open a new credit card? Probably not. So if she puts a freeze on that, then at least it protects her from somebody else doing it. So basically, the moral of the story is just be a hermit and don't answer your phone. Don't use your email. Don't go on the internet.
No dating sites for sure.
No dating
sites.
Well, Denise, thank you so much for joining the show and giving us this great, valuable information.
Yeah.
We all are dealing with this, and so we all have stories about our parents, falling for something, whether it's minor or major, and friends. So this is good information, and we need to talk about it more openly, for sure.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate you guys, allowing me to be here and again discussing this. This is a huge part of the FTC's mission, is to provide the information to consumers.
Yeah.
So again, thank you.
And
it's a continuing conversation
as
how do we can make our lives better. And thank you so very much for your time and for your the resources and the talk, the vulnerable talk, and sharing your story about your husband and his grandma. It's like that's
like Kelly said, a special place in hell for people like that. All right, we'll end with that note. All right, Denise, thank you so much. We'll definitely speak to you again about this very important issue.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, and we all mean it. Special place in hell, right?
Special place in hell.
Forever.
Yes, absolutely.
And ever.
eternity,
Yeah,
for
because-
eternity for those. Yeah.
I mean, my
Yeah.
mom has fallen for little scams here and there, and I've gotten her out of them. But
Yeah.
if there isn't an advocate like us to help our parents, you know,
Right? Who's
There-
going to help us
yeah,
when we get old?
when we
Yeah,
get old. But
yeah.
that story about what she said about the elderly gentleman, the Japanese American, who got
Yeah,
scammed
that's
out of
Ellen Ray.
Heart.
$400,000.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
hopefully this was really useful information to everyone. I know it was for us, but
Yeah.
we will continue this conversation. We, of course, want to thank AARP for being our sponsor for this episode.
A little PR for AARP.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And I think just to remind everybody, aarp.com/caregiver as well as ftc.gov
Yeah.
are the two websites from these organizations that can provide you a little help and assistance and a plethora of resources for these kinds of topics that we all need a little help with
Absolutely.
in caring for ourselves and as well as our elders.
Absolutely. And if there are any hot young guys out there who would like to help us, the three of us in our old age, you can email us or contact us somehow. I don't know. Okay.
You go on, Kelly Who. You go on.
All right. All right, ladies. Always a pleasure. I know.
Yep.
I know. Always a pleasure seeing you, ladies.
It's always so much fun.
Keep rocking
happy
on.
Thanksgiving.
Love doing
Thank
these.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
happy
your love and
Thanksgiving.
support and for your leadership, Maylee. And thank
Yes.
you for your sisterhood.
Thank you.
Kelly
And I
Who.
see you soon.
Yes, I know.
Hey.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Okay.
that next time. Okay. Bye,
right.
ladies.
Bye.
Bye.